Okay, this is the comprehensive guide to finding a good coach or therapist. And I get asked this so much that it's time to do a podcast on it, so that now I have a link to share with people. I just go listen to this, right? I think this is going to be extremely useful if you're in the market for a new relationship coach or therapist or practitioner, all right? Or if have never been, this I think is going to be helpful to you. I just met someone recently that had never been to coaching or therapy. And in my world, that's rare. In the world I live in, because this is what I do for a living. Outside of this, that's really common. There's plenty of people that don't do personal growth work, right? Okay. So first of all, we have to talk about the client. You're the client, right? Let's just say this. You're the client. Maybe you've done therapy in the past or coaching, or you're about to. Whatever the case is, you're going to step into the client role. So you have to ask yourself a couple questions. Are you really ready to change? Is the first thing I want to ask you. Are you really ready for a shift? Because sometimes we go hire a therapist or coach with fuzzy intentions, not totally clear that we want to change, and we just want someone to hear us out. We don't actually want to do anything different. So, are you really ready to change and put in the work? Okay? Because sometimes you can find the best therapist or coach, and if you're the half-assed client who's kicking the tires, I don't care how good the therapist or coach is, nothing is going to change for you. So you have to get honest. Are you really ready to do the work and change? Okay? Next, identify the problem first. What is your problem that you want help with? Okay, and you could say, well, relationships. No, that's too vague. Why am I struggling in a relationship? Is it I don't have boundaries? Is it that I become an overfunctioner and I always attract people that underfunction and don't do the work? What is my problem? And it's normal and understandable if your problem is the other person. That's okay. Okay, that's a first kind of stage thing that a lot of people do is they say, no, I don't have any problems, but my problem is if this person would just change, we would be good. I don't think that's going to get you a very good result if you have it that the problem is outside of you. And if you just change that outside problem, that external problem, then you'll be okay. That's going to fuck you up long term. So don't do that. All right. It's understandable that that's in you, that you want to vent to a therapist or coach about another person, like your parents or your ex or whatever. That's understandable. But you want to be asking them questions like, help me see my side, is my favorite question. Help me see my side, coach. Help me see my part of this problem. That is going to move mountains for you. Okay, so identify the problem. As we drill into identify the problem, you got to also ask, okay, do I need couples therapy or coaching or one-on-one? Do I want help with my boundaries, with my family of origin? Or do I want like some nervous system regulation work? Do I have a trauma from my childhood that I'm ready to finally look at? I was molested when I was 6, or you know what? My parents got separated when I was 11 and my dad never came back and it really fucked me up. Is that the trauma that you've never looked at or dealt with? Did you lose a parent when you were 20 and it also messed you up? You had to drop out of college. We can look back in our life and go, where is there something significant that happened that I've never looked at? Okay, that might be a great intention to go in. I want to solve this problem. I want to get over my past. I want to work through my past. Other people are blind to their past. They're like, my past was fine, but I have all these adult fucked up relationship problems. What's my problem? And they're like, I can't remember anything from my past, or my past was fine. My parents were fine. Everything was fine. I never got hurt. There was no big traumas. Okay, that's okay too. But you might, so your frame might be, I just want to solve my current real-time challenge with my ex, just co-parenting. Or I struggle with communication with my current partner, and it seems to be getting worse, and I want to get ahead of it before it gets even worse. That could be your thing, right? Bottom line is focus on the problem. You might be single and wanting a coach to help you attract a new awesome partner. Well, that might steer you in the dating coach, that away from therapy, away from coaching, and it might steer you directly to a dating coach. It might. Or let's say you've had some past traumatic breakups, and so you might want to go to a trauma therapist to work through your past breakup pain. Or just a relationship coach who's like very good at that. That's kind of their specialty, is like breakups. So identify your problem that you want to overcome. That's the first step, okay? Is what's my problem that I want to solve? Now, I didn't have that luxury necessarily. I had a very global one, which is also fine, folks. And my global one was, I just know I'm the problem, and I have no idea what the fuck's going on here, and I just want to like solve this big overarching, I can't have a successful relationship problem. Well, that was a good enough intention to get me started seeing a great therapist and starting to do work on myself. And I was very, very motivated, right? I was ready for a change. Okay, last little subtle point here as a client, and then we'll get into, the coaching, finding a good coach or therapist, is, if you're lonely and you want to pay someone to listen to you talk, that's a different model entirely. That is where talk therapy can be useful. If you're dealing with loneliness and you have no friends and you want to pay someone to kind of be your friend, that's okay. I don't think that's a good long-term solution, but it's a good short-term step in the right direction, which is get out of your isolation, go hire any therapist or coach, and just start flexing your muscles with the goal of developing and attracting friends into your life so you don't have to pay for them. All right? Hey, quick interruption here. Imagine a career that draws on your passion for personal growth and relationships, that harnesses your ability to support, challenge, and connect with others, that helps you develop as a person while you help others at the same time. What if you could earn a living while making an impact on thousands of people's lives and even on the future of society and how we treat each other? It'd be pretty cool, right? Well, that job does exist. It's the job of a relationship coach, and I believe that the relationship coaches in the world are going to play a crucial role in the future of our culture, not only in the US, but abroad. 1 in 2 marriages still ends in divorce. 3 out of 5 Americans are lonely. We've got a serious loneliness epidemic and a looming mental health crisis that's, I think, already here. Couples that do well live 10 years longer than couples that don't, okay? According to the Gottmans, 80% of couples are headed in the direction of divorce within their first 4 to 5 years of marriage. Yikes. Okay, relationship stress is chronic disease. It creates chronic disease, in my opinion, from what I've read and the research I understand. I think it really hurts people everywhere. And I think the only way to really address this relationship, you could say relationship crisis, really, because it looks like a mental health crisis. It looks like a loneliness crisis. But we have to ask why. What is the root of this? Well, possibly how we raise kids. Possibly it's how we treat each other in our intimate, closest relationships. And the bottom line here is that people need help. They need your help. And our relationship coaches are slowly growing their businesses and doing well and feeling fulfilled and like they have a meaningful purpose and career where they get to work for themselves. So if you want to come be a part of this amazing training, you can apply right now. We're taking applications. That's open currently, and go to relationshipschool.com/RCT if you want to apply and get an interview. We do offer a portion of scholarships to people that enroll if money is an issue, and it's a big investment. But if you think of the return on the investment, what you get out of this training, you are going to transform as a person, as an individual, and you're going to become a better partner, better parent, etc.
And you're going to learn how to effectively help people with their relationship challenges, thus leading to less loneliness perhaps and less mental health challenges for people out there. Okay. So come apply for our amazing training, relationshipschool.com/RCT.
Okay. Now let's get into how do we find a good therapist or coach. And I have about 10 or so points here that I want to cover. All right. So we've talked about identifying the problem. That's huge. We talked about, do I want couples work or individual work? And let me just say one more thing there, by the way. Because some of you in the relationship space, you're listening to this podcast, it means you might have a relationship challenge in your life, past or present, that you want to deal with. Well, it is a good question to ask. Is this a couples coach or therapist thing? Or is this an individual thing? Ellen and I always find that when we start working with individuals and they have a problem with their current partner, it's best to bring their partner in. Now, sometimes individuals come in because their partner is reluctant or very resistant or has no interest. Obviously, that's kind of like you're kind of at a stalemate, so you've got to go to an individual coach or therapist at that point, right? But if you have a couple problem, it's a problem between the two of you, like communication, let's say, and you're still married to this person or dating them, then a couples coach is, I think, the better move if you can find someone good that's going to deal directly with the two of you and handle you in a really good way. I think our coaches do a great job of that. I think Stan Tatkin's therapists do a really good job of that. That's kind of how Ellen and I orient to therapy and coaching for couples. So start there, and sometimes a very good coach or therapist, if you have a resistant partner and they come into the first session or two, the good therapist or coach helps them feel safe, like, hey, this is an okay place. No, we understand you're not the only problem here. Your partner's half the equation here. We're going to work this together. A great practitioner will help your resistant, reluctant partner feel welcome and appreciated, and then you can get to work, right? Because sometimes your nagging is the thing that's driving them further away, and they're so, or they've had a past negative experience with a therapist or coach, and they're so it was traumatizing for them for some reason. You got to empathize with that. Okay. Along the lines of couples, when you're trying to find a good couples coach or therapist, don't hire someone who isn't training to be a couples coach or therapist. Don't do it. Why? Because that person is winging it, and they are receiving no supervision and no guidance, and they're probably just reading a book or something or not doing anything. They're like a new therapist or coach often is I'll work with anybody, right? And that's okay. That's what I did. I was I work with everybody. And it's a fine place to start. But if you want effective help, don't hire someone who's I work with everything and everybody. You want a specialist. Hey, I do relationship stuff, and that's all I do, and I'm only a couples person. For example, Ellen only sees couples, right? That's it. So she's highly, highly specialized. Therefore, she's a badass. She has a lot of mastery working with couples. All right. Now, you might not be able to afford a super high level couples coach or therapist. No problem. You find out who their trainees are, who's training with you. That is newer, but studying your techniques and your modalities and present-centered couples coaching, for example, which is what Ellen and I teach. Find out who the best person is, and then find out who's training with them, and then hire that person. Go have a trial session, see how it goes. And make sure that new coach or new therapist is getting supervision and is training, specializing, right? They're training, they're learning. Do not see people who are winging it and think they know what the deal is. It's just, I don't care how much you like them. I wouldn't do it, okay? People need training. Couples, by the way, are so much fucking harder than individuals. It just is. It's a lot harder. And so make sure you've got someone in training. Okay, next really important point for an individual or a couples coach, if you're in the market, is find someone that is doing the work. They are growing constantly. They're on the path, the personal growth path. They are interested in growth and development. They're interested in looking in the mirror. Their extracurricular activities are things like meditation and yoga, personal growth. They go to Tony Robbins or Joe Dispenza, or, they actually care about the human journey. Right? There are so many therapists out there, for example, that are not growing. Mostly these are talk therapists who've been doing it for years, and they've gotten lazy as fuck, and they're collecting a paycheck to listen to you. I think that's BS. No way. You want to hire people who are doing the fucking work. They study relationships, they study themselves, they study people. They're fascinated by the human condition. Yeah, that's who you want, right? That's very alive. It's like, whoa, this person is on it. They have so many things they're studying. This is so cool. All right. Yeah, don't hire sleepy people who aren't growing. Same with don't get into partnerships with sleepy people who aren't growing. It's going to be harder for you. Okay, next thing is avoid, I've said it already, I'm going to say it again, avoid talk therapy at all costs unless you are brand new, you've never been, you have no idea what to work on, and you just need someone to hear you. That's an okay first step. Just don't stay there. Okay? All right, next is in the work, you have to get results. And that's a dance between you and the practitioner. Okay, you want to move your life forward, not sit still in an eddy. Okay, and look, I've been stuck so many times in my life where I am in an eddy. I eventually get out. Sometimes it takes me a year or two. Sometimes it takes me a day or two. Sometimes it takes me a month or two. We want to hire people who are invested in results with us. They want to see us, quote, get better or get healthier or overcome our pain or move on to the next challenge, right? There should be movement. And this is for you as a client, because I work with people who are like, I saw a therapist for 3 years and it did nothing. I'm like, well, that's on you. Don't blame the therapist for that. You're the person that stayed in therapy for 3 years getting no results, right? It's easy to point the finger at the therapist, but you two are colluding in some weird talk therapy dynamic where nothing's happening. That's why I like coaching, because coaching, think about it, every great athlete, every great musician, every great dancer, almost every great everything has a coach, right, in their corner. So why wouldn't we, for the things we need in our life and want to do it for ourselves, for our life, right? Coaching is about results. So hire someone who's mutually invested with you to get a result. So if you're hiring a couples coach, they're invested in you two by communicating better. And most importantly, you're invested. So you'll roll up your sleeves and do the harder thing, right? Okay. And to be clear, the therapist shouldn't be the one, or the coach shouldn't be the one doing the work. That's like the working harder than you. I always teach our new coaches, like, look, you're working harder than the client. You don't want to do that. And there's reasons for that, because a lot of codependent style people grew up in families where they felt like they had to work really hard to get mom or dad's love or fix the alcoholic parent or whatever. Don't do that. Okay. It's okay. You gotta work your way out of that habit. As therapists or coaches, the client should be the one lifting the weights, right? Think of the therapist or coach as the personal trainer saying, pick up the weight. The client's job is to do the actual work. Now, the therapist, by the way, or coach is doing that in their own life. They're picking up their own weights for their challenges, right? And they have their own mentors and coaches and supervisors, etc. Okay. Next one is, are they getting supervision? This has to do with, are they growing constantly? They should be getting, good therapists and coaches always have a mentor who's got more experience than they have, who is looking after them. And so for years, and as a coach or a therapist, achieves a level of mastery and they've been in it for 10 years, they need their mentors less and less, right? But they still need supervision from time to time. And the supervision style might change. It might be more colleague-based. The point is here, please hire coaches and therapists who are seeing have a supervisor. So I would ask directly in the first session, the 30-minute free trial or whatever, or over email. I just have a few questions for you. Are you into personal growth and development? Do you see a therapist or coach yourself? And do you have a supervisor or someone that you go to when you get stuck? It's very much okay to ask those kind of questions. And if they say no, I think that's a red flag. We have our best coaches are people who are still getting supervision, and our coaches who lapsed their certification or are not getting supervised by anybody, I wouldn't recommend you hire them. I think they're good people. But again, like that's out there, right? That's everywhere. People let their certifications go. They don't hire supervisors for whatever reason because it costs too much, or, they're like, oh, I don't need this. I'm pretty good. I'm getting good results. Yeah, I think those are all red flags for me. So the other one I just mentioned also, was going to be a separate point, which is certifications. So just make sure that you want your person to be practicing in an ethical way, that they're adhering to some sort of code of ethics. We at the Relationship School train our coaches. They all sign a code of ethics agreement. It's very much in line with the International Coaches Federation. If you hire a therapist, usually they're licensed in their state and they adhere to all kinds of rules and regulations that are pretty obvious, like you can't sleep with your clients and, things like that. You have good boundaries, blah, blah, blah. You're genuinely trying to help this person. So you want to make sure that this person is a legit person and that they're keeping their certifications in good standing and they're getting regular supervision. Okay. Especially if they're on the newer side, newer meaning 10 years or under. Okay. What else? This is a tricky one. Okay. Are they living the version you want to become? Now I'm going to speak both sides of this coin. One side of the coin says, why would you hire, if you want to get sober, why would you hire a coach or therapist who's still drinking and doing drugs? Can they really help you get sober if they have never gotten sober themselves? That's a really valid point, right? Or why would you hire a parenting coach who's not a parent? Interesting. Why would you hire a fitness coach who's not fit? So these are all really valid points, but there's two sides to this coin, so we have to speak to that. So two of my best mentors over the years, way back in the day, one was not a parent, but I learned a lot about parent-child dynamics from this guy. Incredible. I learned so much from him because this is what he studied. Now, he didn't study it from his own experience in his home. He studied it by working with lots of parents. And he was extremely, extremely skilled family therapist who knew a ton about child development. And he taught it and he studied it. So is that someone I shouldn't learn from, even though he's not a parent? No, I'm like, fuck that. This guy's amazing. And I wanted to learn from him, right? When our kids were really young, I hired a parenting coach, and she didn't have kids, and she was amazing. And I learned how to talk to my own child from a parenting coach who wasn't a parent. She taught me how to communicate better, more effectively with my 3-year-old and my 2-year-old than I knew how to do. And I was the one with kids. So it depends. Is this person studying? So for example, some of our relationship coaches are single and divorced. Does that mean they can't help you have a successful marriage? No. But you want to make sure that they're on the path learning. And they're an effective communicator. And they're like, yeah, that was my past. I'm changing. I'm growing. This is who I'm becoming now. I'm ready to attract an awesome partner into my life. And I was part of the problem in the past. And I'm worked through a bunch of that stuff, and so I'm ready. That's the kind of coach you want. They don't have to be in a successful 15-year, 20-year marriage. It's okay. They don't. But if that is your bar, that's also okay. For example, I had someone reach out to me the other day. The only reason I'm reaching out to you, dude, is you're in a successful marriage, you're a dad, and you have more than one kid, and you're an entrepreneur. Those three things, this guy was like, I'm hiring you because of that. I was like, oh, yeah, makes sense. Right? He was tired of talking to people who didn't have kids and didn't know the stress of that and didn't know the stress of running a business at the same time of being a husband and a parent. And he wanted someone who's like actually beyond the honeymoon stage, right? Because everybody's successful in the first year of a relationship, pretty much. Or it's more guaranteed to be successful in that first 6 months because it just feels good. Okay, so you've got to ask yourself, do I need a mentor or a coach that is living what I want to live or not? There's going to be some therapists out there that have never had a successful relationship, but they're effective, good therapists. That's true. I'm leaning more in the mindset these days at my age, I think, of like, I have a personal trainer who's extremely fit and like knows what I'm like, okay, you've made the journey. You're an athlete. You've had some injuries. You're definitely one step ahead of me, if not 500 steps ahead of me. I want to learn from you, right? I would not want to learn from someone who's not into functional movement, who doesn't understand sports injuries, who hasn't been an athlete in their life. I don't want to learn from that person at my age. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I need someone who's fit and knows the body extraordinarily well. Way better than I do, right? Cool. I think you get my point there. All right.
Hey, if you want to uplevel your life, your relationship life specifically, I want you to consider our Relationship Mastery program. It's 9 months of complete transformation where you become a better listener, a better communicator. You learn how to have secure relationships and you get an experiential taste of that. You feel seen and supported and challenged to reach your relationship goals. And really, you become a better communicator. So many people have gone through this course now. And we have a done with you version of it now, which is amazing, where you get assigned a private relationship coach. You get to do live group coaching with me once a month and ask me anything you want. There's office hours where you get to meet with one of our coaches to nerd out on the curriculum. And the community is very strong. And these are people who care a lot about relationships and they want to get what they want to get, which is they want to be in a relationship and not betray themselves, right? They want to get the relationship they want while being true to themselves. That's what most of us want. And this course is the path for you to get that. Here's what one of our participants in the past has said about this course.
What I would say to people that have been listening to the podcast but aren't ready to take that final step into joining the course, the most powerful thing has been like the partner calls. The accountability is something that you're not going to get by just listening to podcasts on your own. Because I thought the same thing, like, oh, I'm getting a lot out of just listening to these podcasts, and I'm, been in therapy, I've, done this and that. To take that deeper dive and the commitment, there's something about just the financial commitment, the time and the energy that you put into it. What you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And so again, if, invest in yourself.
All right. Amazing words from one of our heartfelt students here at the Relationship School. If you want to change your life like they did, go to relationshipschool.com/relationship mastery, and we'll see you in there.
Another point that's subtle is feel free to ask about their personal life. Is if the person, therapists are taught sort of not divulge anything. Now, with social media these days, and there's so many therapists, influencers sharing personal shit online, it's a little different. But before social media, I was sort of taught and trained like, you don't reveal really anything about yourself. And I always thought that was a little weird. I'm like, how are people going to learn from me if I don't share shit about my own life? So I started sharing on Facebook and my personal blog many years ago about my life. And I was a therapist. And obviously there was a group of people that found that really refreshing. And there was a group of people that found that like oversharing or off-putting or something. So I would, for me, you got to ask what's right for you. I want to know a little bit about them. I don't want them to hog the mic and start telling me about when I was your age, I overcame all these problems and this is what I did. That's nonsense. I don't want that. but I want a person. I want to know that I'm dealing with a person who's, also has challenges, who's got ups and downs. I just want a real human. I don't want a role. I want a real human. And in our coaching training, I say this over and over to our coaches, be a real person. Stop being a role. And that's difficult in the beginning for some new coaches because they're a little like stiff, like, oh, I got to do the technique right and shit. So I say, just say that to your client. Hey, I'm just a little stiff right now. I'm trying to get the technique right, but let me just relax, take a couple breaths. Okay, back to what were you saying? So anyway, you can bring your real self into the coaching session as a practitioner, and that's very refreshing to, I think, the modern client. I think clients are getting more and more sophisticated where they want authenticity is much, much more important than some kind of stiff role that doesn't reveal anything about themselves. Like we hate that about our politicians. We dislike that about leaders in general when they put a front up and they're like perfect, but behind the scenes, they're kind of a disaster. It's just like, look, we're all kind of a mess. Let's all acknowledge that. And how about coaches and therapists just embrace that and stop trying to be perfect for your clients, right? Because your clients will project onto you that you should have your shit together and have no problems. And you could easily buy into that, right? I bought into that before and it crashed and burned hard for me. Okay, last point here. I mean, there's many more things I could say, but winding down, do they have a good reputation? Meaning, have you heard about them online or have you heard about them through your friend circle? Did someone refer you that you trust and respect? This goes with the old adage, people refer to who they know, like, and trust. And that could be the plumber, that could be the physician, that could be the landscaper, the babysitter. It's like we look for personal referrals to people we know, like, and trust. That's still, word of mouth is still one of the most powerful ways. And I tell our new coaches, the most effective marketing you can do is in your own network with, because your people already know, like, and trust you. So you've got to claim that you're now a relationship coach and you're passionate about this and you're the person that they should be referring to. For example, I've talked about my personal trainer here, Hannah, many times, but we've referred a ton of our friends to her because she's so awesome. She has a good reputation, right? And I'm like, here, go to her. Even if she's got a wait list now, like go, I don't know who else to send you to. So you will get that as a coach or therapist if you do good work, right? You'll have a good reputation. Nice. I'll probably do a separate episode on when to fire your coach or therapist, particularly your therapist, but I'll leave that stuff for another time. But these are some techniques on how to find a good coach or therapist, right? Because it's half the battle is you want to find a good practitioner. Oh, last point is you have to be willing to pay. If you're in a lower income bracket and you're like, all I can afford is my health insurance, Kaiser Permanente therapist. Now, I think you're shrinking the pool of good people dramatically to in-network therapists who do mostly talk therapy. Every so often I hear stories of a insurance therapist who is a complete master badass, who people have an amazing experience with, and I celebrate those moments. I think they're few and far between. Unfortunately, for better or worse, I think private pay is going to garner better results. So you can ask yourself questions like, how can I, rather than I can't afford this, the question should be, how can I afford this? What do I need to do to afford this person's fee? Do I need to take up extra work? Do I need to ask for a raise? What do I need to do so that I can afford the person who's probably getting better results and has more experience, right? For example, I charge a lot of money to work privately with me. People have to apply, and it's a whole thing, right? And a lot of people are like, I can't afford to work with you. And so I'm like, cool, here's my courses, right? Because I'm doing tons of free things all the way up to high-end things, which is one-on-one work or one-on-two work. But it costs a lot. But it costs a lot because my time is valuable and I have 20-something years of experience. 30 if you count all my work with adolescents, right? And families and groups. So I'm willing now as a client, this past 2 years, I've paid more for a coach than I ever have in my life. And it stung at first. And then afterwards, as the work got into it, I was like, damn, this person's good. And I'm moving so much faster. And I don't know, this person's so much more efficient. That's probably a better way, because faster isn't always better. It's just more efficient. Like I don't actually want to be struggling with my problem for a year. If I can find someone who's dealt with this problem before and is more efficient at dealing with this problem and spots patterns and can call BS on me sooner, I'd rather pay more money for that, because I don't want to be there for a year. Right? Which could be equal the same amount of cost because the other person's slower, less efficient, or they just take more time to get to the core, the heart of the matter. I get to the heart of the matter very quickly with people. So that comes with a price, right? Yeah. So be willing to push yourself. Paying more, I will add this disclaimer, paying more doesn't always equate to better. Some people are just good marketers, and they are very good at sales and positioning the price in such a way that you're like, oh, it must be worth it. And then you kind of feel burned. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about a person who's legitimately super skilled and can help you get the results you want more efficiently and effectively. Cool. Okay, hopefully this guide on finding a good coach or therapist is helpful. Forward it to a friend for sure. Please listen to it the next time you're about to hire someone. And I think this goes for acupuncturists or massage therapists or, a lot of the practitioners that we see. It's a little harder when we get into doctors, et cetera. But I think this applies. I think this is a great guide for if you're looking for, specifically if you have relationship challenges, right? You wouldn't probably go see a relationship coach for financial problems. You'd probably go see a financial coach. So again, that comes back to my first point is what's the problem you're trying to solve? All right, start there. Okay, that's your action step is what's your problem? What's my problem I'm trying to solve? Journal and get clear about that first. And then you're on your way to putting it out there in your network and finding the right coach or therapist to help you. Okay, blessings, and we'll talk soon.